they were up last week, and so it's usually a 1 week it's up and 1 week it's down. Hi guys, it's Misty and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Misty and I'm a reseller on eBay, and I also own a brick and mortar antique store, and I also sell antiques and vintage on YouTube. This is my weekly what sold on eBay for the week of April 20th through April 26th. My sales were fine. They were down 1%, which is okay. And I sold, I really kind of sold a variety of different kinds of things. A lot of collectibles were selling, a lot of hardware. I had sold a lot of hardware. It was just kind of a variety kind of week. So let's go ahead and I will show you the things that sold for me last week on eBay. In the Sellers Hub, and you can see here what my total sales were compared to last week, and that my sales were down 1%. It was a pretty steady week. Every day was a sale, and so yeah, it was a pretty good week. Let's go ahead and get started on showing what has sold. I've sold these, I've mentioned these before. It was a self-tanning lotion. I bought a box of them at a garage sale last summer, and I've been selling them anywhere between $14 and $16 a piece. This person bought 2 of them, and that was all that I had. So I completely sold out of these Dr. Dennis Gross Lotion. Just a self-tanning lotion. That's pretty much what it is. I didn't run any sales last week too. I kind of was seeing what it would do, if it would make me go down in my numbers, but it went down 1%, so that's not too bad. So no sales were ran last week for me. The next thing is this antique primitive wooden carpenter mallet, barn hammer, woodworking farmhouse. I do sometimes put farmhouse in my listings because a lot of times people will use these as decor pieces. This was a really, really neat piece. It was made out of this really gnarly wood, and you can see I love all the holes and all the dings in it. It was just showing that it was used by somebody. I just think I love the history of things like this, and I like that people are using them as decor. But this sold for This sold for $38.50, and the buyer paid shipping. The next thing is this antique steel metal door hardware lock. I've been selling these hardware pieces a lot. Looking at this picture, I should have put it on a black background, but I didn't. So it's kind of hard to see. If this was on a black background, you would have been able to see the look of it a little bit more. This was a very beautiful piece. Now it was brass, and it could have, people can strip the paint off of these and show the natural brass behind it too. And this one sold for $29.50, and the buyer paid shipping. Next we have this vintage art globe torpedo bullet skyscraper clear glass light shade globe. Really, really cool Art Deco piece. This is something that I've had for a while. I had it in the shop. It never sold, and I decided to list it on eBay, and it sold pretty quickly for $32.50, and the buyer paid shipping. There wasn't any damage to this at all. This is something that someone's looking to replace another shade from something that had broken, and so these things do sell pretty well, these light globes. The next book, this is kind of a surprising thing. I got this book from the bins. It was a 1939 Office Gynecology hardbook cover, first edition. And believe it or not, these are worth some money. I paid 50 cents for it at the bins, and it sold for $36.75. Typically with books, I will do free shipping because they do ship media mail. It is, $3.50 around about to ship it, and this was it had some pictures in it that I'm not going to show, but it was a kind of a neat book for its age. The next item is this vintage Provincial Pottery California Kitchen Made spoon rest. It was made by Rosemary Koroff, and I put the mid-century modern, which is a good keyword to use. Really pretty California pottery spoon rest. This actually came from my home in my own personal collection. Decided to go ahead and sell it, and she sold for $25.30, and the buyer paid shipping. The next item is a Watt pitcher. This is a yellowware. This is the starflower design on Watt pottery, with the 2-leaf. That's the 2-leaf and the 4-star petals. It was just a stoneware crock. It was in great condition. Didn't have any chips or cracks on it. It did have some crazing on the bottom of it, and it sold for $28.60, and the buyer paid shipping. The next item is a Smurf. And look, this Smurf sold for $38.50. I know, I couldn't believe it either. But some Smurfs are worth a little bit of money. These toys from the 70s and 80s are starting to make a pretty big comeback, and people that are my age, in their mid-40s, are starting to buy things that reminded them of their childhood. This one is a little bit of a rare one. It was 1982, the Log Car Super Smurf, made by Peo, PVC figure. It was made in West Germany, so that does date it a little bit. Well, it does have the date on the bottom too, so that's the best way to date it because the date's on the bottom. It was in great condition, and it sold for $38.50, and the buyer paid shipping. The next item are these vintage international silver soldered dish from the Sheraton Hotel. They were 6-inch plates. I'm not really sure what these were used for. I think that they were probably like maybe a bread plate. They were silver. I kind of thought I put candle holder. They do look pretty with a candle on them. So it was a little bit hard to come up with some words to use for this. I was trying to give the customer a little bit of ideas, maybe fill out the search a little bit more, give a little bit more ideas. And this sold for $23.50, and the buyer paid shipping. Next, we have some wrestlers. These are the vintage WWF Junkyard Dog and Hillbilly Jim. Do y'all remember them? I do. They were 8-inch figures made by Titan, dated 1984. I got these at Goodwill. I paid 99 cents each for them. It just kind of brought me back when I saw these guys because I loved wrestling when I was a child in the 80s. I loved Hulk Hogan and all those guys, and I do remember Hillbilly Jim, and I remember Junkyard Dog too. They were in kind of rough condition. The paint was scraped off on a lot of the figures, the heads, the clothes, but they sold for $28.50, and the buyer paid shipping. Next, we have an antique Otto Grune German Dutch boy and girl alphabet bowl. And it was marked OG on the bottom. That's where the OG came from. Let me see if I can pull it up. Right there. Made in Germany. It's a baby bowl. And this was a heavy-duty baby bowl. It weighed 2 pounds. Very beautiful artwork transfer on here with a really pretty animals, just very vintage Art Deco looking. And it sold for $26.50, and the buyer paid shipping. This is something too that I had in the shop for a very long time. I want to say I had like maybe $7 on it in the shop, and it never sold. Luckily, it sold for a lot more than that when I listed it on eBay. This is another something that I've had in the shop for about 5 years. I think I had $12 on it in the shop. It is this vintage bobblehead baseball nodder made in Japan. He was made out of wood. He was from the 1950s. Really cool and fun piece. His little head bobbed on a spring. Really would be really neat addition to a little boy's room or a man cave, or just a big baseball fan person would probably like this. And it sold for $28.50, and the buyer paid shipping. Next, this surprised me. I bought this at Goodwill for 99 cents because I thought it was pretty. And I didn't really know anything about it. I actually had taken some pictures and put it on Instagram, and a lot of people responded and said that it was a Bing and Grodal B&G porcelain bird figurine made in Denmark. And they are pretty collectible. This one had a number on the bottom. You can see here, and I did put farmhouse in the listing. A lot of people use birds for farmhouse decor, and you know, I bought it for 99 cents and I sold it for $25, and the buyer paid shipping. It was so cute. This is one of those things too that I thought, if I don't sell it, I'm going to keep it because I think it's very cute. The next item are these genuine Samsung toner cartridges. I have all of the brands listed here. The colors were magenta, yellow, cyan. They were brand new, sealed. I picked them up from Goodwill or the Goodwill bins. I can't remember. I want to say I paid $1 a piece for them, and they sold for $28.50. This had free shipping. This was one of those listings that I didn't catch. I'm trying to change all my shipping fees on a lot of things, and I didn't catch it, so it did ship for free. It did weigh a little over a pound, so I had to pay a little bit of shipping for it, but I still made money on it. The next item is something that I had for a very long time. It's a horrible picture. It's a horrible picture, which is probably why I had it for such a long time, but it is a Cool Blast personal portable air cooler made by Misty Pate. It's basically, you fill this up with water and you can carry it on you, and you can squirt yourself with it when you're hot. I don't know, but it was brand new, sealed, and it sold for $26.50, and the buyer paid shipping. But this is something that I did have for a very long time. The next item is a Tervis Sloth, nope, not today, insulated tumbler. It had the pink lid. It was brand new with the tags. I did pay up for this at Goodwill, and for me, paying up at Goodwill is $4.50. I did pay $4.50 for this Tervis mug, but I sold it for $22.50, and the buyer paid shipping. The next item is something that I picked up at, I think I picked it up at a yard sale last summer, and it's something that I had in my home for a while. It is this vintage handcrafted Indiana limestone elephant statue, or it could be used as a bookend. It was very mid-century lines on it, and it was made from Indiana limestone. That's the reason why I bought it. I just like that it was made from Indiana limestone. Where I live, we're the limestone capital of the world, supposedly. And but this sold for $22.50, and the buyer paid shipping. The next item is a Briarwood unfiltered tobacco straight smoking pipe. Some other keywords that I used was primitive. It had a screw stem, so you can see in this picture here, the stem did screw off. Really beautiful burl wood. And you can see here that it was used. It had some burn marks on it, but it's just a cool old pipe. Pipes do pretty well. And this one sold for $22.50, and the buyer paid shipping. This next item is something that I think that I picked up at Goodwill for 99 cents. It surprised me. This is a brush. It's a vintage Fuller Brush Company brush. It's basically it's a shampoo brush. Model 460 polyethylene shampoo brush. It was new old stock, and I paid 99 cents for it. It was brand new in the box. There's the brush. I mean, it's just a brush. And it sold for $32.50, and the buyer paid shipping. That was a shocker. I don't list anything as an auction. I do my research and find out what things are selling for, and I set my buy it now price. And when I researched this a little bit more, I was shocked at how much they were selling for. This next item is an antique Art Deco door hinge. Now this was a heavy piece. It was not brass. A magnet stuck to it, so it was metal. It was cast metal, and it sold for $19.95, and the buyer paid shipping. A lot of people will use these, and they'll make business card holders out of them. I had seen that on Pinterest, and it's actually a really pretty good idea, because I wondered, what are people doing with one hinge? But, you know, they're making things with them, or maybe they're using them on a door or a window or a cabinet. The next item is this Annette Funicello bear. I got this at an auction free. It was at the end of the auction in a box of stuff that nobody wanted, and I happily took it, and I sold this little bear for $22.50, and the buyer paid shipping. These bears are pretty collectible. This was Annette Funicello. It was a jointed bear. It wasn't a mohair bear, but it did have the tag still attached to it. So those were kind of key things that made it sell pretty well. The next item is this antique brass door lock faceplate. This one was brass, and it had the little skeleton keyhole up here, and this is upside down. Good grief, Misty. Well, the picture's upside down, but it still sold for $19.99. It must have been a late night of listing for me, and the buyer did pay shipping. Okay, the next item is this vintage American Flyer lines 1123 original lithograph red passenger car. This was an O-gauge train car. I do pretty well with these. Some of them are better than others. This one wasn't a Marks. It was the American Flyer line. And you can do research on these a little bit. And I don't know a lot about these because, I have gotten messages and people will say, well, this is bent or this is something with the wheel. And I'm just listing them how they are. I don't profess to be an expert on these in any way, shape, or form. I try to take as many pictures as I can. And, it's untested. I do not know if it works. Untested. I try to be very honest with everything that I'm listing. And, I don't know. I don't know if it works, but I'm buying it. If I would buy this, I'm buying it for the look of it. But people want to buy these because they have antique train sets and they use them. The next item is this Bock. There's my other word I cannot say, but it's an apple coffee mug. I picked this up for 69 cents at Goodwill, and it sold for $18.60, and the buyer paid shipping. This Bock, especially the ones that are made in Spain, some of them are made in Germany, they do pretty well. There's a pretty big collector's market for them, especially the red ones with the Christmas trees. I know people who have just beautiful collections of these, so I try to find, when I do find these, I do buy them. I sell them anywhere between $14 and $18 typically. The next item, this sold within a day of me listing it, and it was this vintage case toy corn wagon. It's just this little farm toy tractor, and I put implement, orange, made in the USA. This had some damage to it. It was rusty, it was played with, and the tractor itself did come off of the frame, and I don't know if it was supposed to do that or not. I did list that in the listing, that the wagon isn't attached to the frame. I don't know if it was supposed to be or if it just kind of sat on there. You could take it off, but I wanted to make sure that I named that in the listing, and it sold for $18.50. Buyer paid shipping. I love selling these things. These things just make me happy. I don't know why, but these vintage PVC toys. This one was a vintage Walt Disney Productions Matchbox cars with Mickey, Minnie, Pluto. It was a lot of them. Now, some of them were Matchbox cars, and some of them were not. And they are all in played with condition, and they will receive all cars in the photos. And these guys sold for $18.99, and the buyer paid shipping. Next, we have a vintage rat rod wooden steering wheel spinner. These are also known as a suicide knob, and basically they would attach to your steering wheel. There's a little bracket right there, and I'm pointing to the screen because y'all can see that, right? Anyway, there's a little bracket right here that attaches to your steering wheel, and then you can use this knob and kind of use one hand to steer your steering wheel. These were really big back in the 50s and 60s. This one was made out of wood. A lot of times you'll see them in their custom, they've got like really neat paint job, or like I've seen them with they have like something inside them, almost like a snow globe. This one was just a primitive one, and it sold for $16.50, and the buyer paid shipping. A Smurf. This was a vintage 1999 Schlage Smurfs scuba diver. Frogman, figure, toy, mask, snorkel. It's made in Germany. Sometimes you're just kind of reaching out there with the titles. But you can see here it was made in China, 1999 Peyo. This one had really cool 90s colors on it. I liked the hot pink, the contrast, and it was like a yellowish lime green. But he sold for $16.50, and the buyer paid shipping. Next, we have a vintage owl speckled happy birthday coffee mug, and I believe that this was bought from one of my subscribers, so thank you very much. This was a cute little happy fun mug. It sold for $9, and the buyer paid shipping. Just a cute little speckled mug. I think that this would be cute to give to someone as a birthday gift. You could put a plant in it or a succulent in it, and it would be a nice little gift. This thing, okay, I have another set of these. These are vintage 1980s stickers. They're the shiny stickers, like a Mylar sticker. These I found in a drawer of a dresser that I bought at an auction, and I thought, man, those look like they're from the 80s. Those are just bringing back memories. And then I started looking at them online, and I sold these for $19 for the both of them. I did do free shipping. I mean, they fit in an envelope. I did put a piece of cardboard in to protect them, but people collect these, and this bigger one here I think came out of a bubblegum machine, and then this one here was made by Fanta Stickers. So that was a surprising cool sale for me. I liked that was going to someone that collected these. The next item is this vintage biscuit tin. It's a lithograph for decorative container, sorry, with a lid. It was made in West Germany. I sold for $12.60, and the buyer paid shipping. These really don't sell for a lot. People do like these, but the resale value isn't that great on these. It's best if you had several of them and you can put them in a lot together. You might be able to get a little bit more money out of a lot of them, but $12.60. And this is something that we've had in the shop for a while. Next we only sold one of these Infinity figures. We usually sell a couple of them a week, and this one was the Rapunzel from Tangled, the Disney Infinity PS3, PS4, Wii U, Xbox 360 card. I don't know much about these other than we bought a lot of them, a bunch of them at a yard sale over the last summer, and we've been selling them between $12 and $14 each. Next we have a little fig. Do you all remember this little figment from Epcot? I remember him. He's from 1982. This is the second one that I sold. I had two of these, and I did buy them from an auction. It was a Disney auction. I bought a lot of Disney things at that auction, and this little guy sold for $12.50, and the buyer paid shipping. He's just a cute little guy. He's just 2.5 inches tall. Next we have a Jiffy Frame. This is a cross-stitch frame. It's a 5x7. I picked several of these up at a yard sale last summer for I think $1 a piece. I knew that they weren't going to bring in a lot of money, but they were new in the package. This was the last one, and it had a little bit of tear in the package down here, but it sold for $11, and the buyer paid shipping. And last we're going to end with some Smurfs. These Smurfs, it was a lot. It was a Sleepy Smurf and the Smurf holding the candle. They're from 1983, the Peo Schleg Smurf holding the candle and lying in bed. They didn't really have names. You know, all Smurfs have a name, like Sleepy Smurf and Papa Smurf, and I guess this is Candle Smurf and Bed Smurf. I don't know. I don't know what their names were. I just tried to be as descriptive as I could. And the lot of these sold for $16.80, and the buyer paid shipping. So it wasn't a bad week. I kept me busy. I was busy all week, and it was my first full week of being in my new space, so that made it a little bit more exciting for me as well. I'm getting in the swing of things, so I am trying to be able to do my reselling and do my sales and do videos, and so I'm trying to, combine it all in here in my new space. So be looking forward to some more vlogs and more displays and things of that nature. But let's go ahead and talk about the numbers. So this week, like I said, my sales were down 1%, which is, they were up last week, and so it's usually a 1 week it's up and 1 week it's down. My total sales were $943.21. Now that is my gross sales. That doesn't include my taxes, my cost of goods, and all of that. That's my gross sales. I sold 35 items. And like I said, it was a variety of different kinds of items. Some things I've had for a long time. Again, I refreshed some of my old listings and just made them a little bit brighter and maybe made them a little bit more seen. So, I guess my little tidbit of advice for this week would just be, as always, just keep listing and maybe try to list a couple things that are kind of outside of your comfort zone. Kind of give yourself that little bit of a challenge for yourself. So list something that you've never really listed before. Give yourself a little bit of time to research it a little bit and figure out a little bit more about it and just see how it goes. And I wish you the best of luck, and I know that you can do it. So just give it a try and don't give up. And that's what I sold this week, and I hope that this video helped you out in some way. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure that you are subscribed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.